Hello. I hope the light is okay in here. It's been about 2 months. That's for later. 2 months since I last transmitted, and finally got the kiln. I remember last time I was frustrated because I had been waiting for almost 2 or 3 months for the kiln. It was very overdue. Got it. I had a stressful day of getting it. That was back in June. Now it's July, whatever, 10th or something today. But I went down to Pacific Art Glass. Had an episode there. Had to figure out how to, on the fly, how to assemble the kiln stand, which had no instructions. So I spent about 2 hours in the back of a van there in the sun, trying with my toolkit, which I thankfully brought, figuring out how to put the stand together. And then I got some of the people in some of the workers there who do the receiving and shipping to help me load it into the van. Brought the van up to Cypress Park here. Had to I set the stand down, and I went up to Home Depot. I recruited a couple of day laborers that were standing out there. By the way, good people. And man, if you think that people trying to find work for a living are scum or something, you got a problem, because these were good people, and they looked destitute, maybe sick or malnourished. You know, the wretched of the earth. But when I told them how important this was to me, they got it, and I spoke in Spanish to them because they didn't speak English. And we showed up here. By all means, they looked like campesino, like, you know, they didn't have any formal education, but they quickly understood what I needed, and we all formed a plan, and we got the kiln into my studio. And then I was very happy to be able to reward them well for what amounted to an hour of work. And why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you want to make somebody's life better if you had the power to do that? You know, I made all of $14,000 last year, so I know what it is to struggle. It's pretty much like that all the time for me. I just can't understand being angry at people who are struggling and trying to do better. That's all the politics I'll say. Here to talk about glass. So, been working on this all week. Like I said, I got the kiln. This and the other, there were 4 pieces. This is the largest. Are the first pieces that I've fired in my kiln. And calling this series the House of the Moon. I don't know how the light is. Maybe I should turn on something. Quick, hold on a second. Oh, look at that light. I don't know if that's going to cause a glare in the picture or what. Get it out of there. Hopefully that helped, but I will turn this around so you can see. Round circle. I'll explain that, how I did that without a lathe, by the way. I do not have a lathe. If you know glass working, you might have looked at that, and the first thing you thought is, oh, he has a lathe. That's how you would make a disc like that. Well, the neighbor's kids are out, so one of the joys of working anywhere in LA and anywhere, there are kids around a lot. So I didn't do this with a lathe, but I'll explain that in a minute, or 10 minutes, whatever, how long I blather on. This came out of the kiln with the other pieces. And I've been working it, actually, let me back up. It came out of the kiln. When I last spoke to you, I was talking about how hard I was working on the clay to make the clay surfaces, the clay original, which was this, to make the clay flat. These planar surfaces flat as possible, so that when it came out as a piece of glass, I would have to do as little grinding to flatten everything as possible. So all that work, I put a lot of work into trying to be very precise with flat surfaces in clay. I'd say I gave myself maybe a 50% improvement in terms of how flat the object was when I made a mold of it, as was evidenced when it came out in glass. Then you really see how perfect or imperfect it was. As it turned out, most of these flat surfaces, they were flatter than I had done before on the other pieces that I finished in January, but still, I've been doing this. It is Sunday now. I've been working on this piece. Actually, I guess I worked on this one too, but since Monday. I've put about 30 hours, and this is 80 grit. This is my flat glass, my float glass table here. It's my woodwork table, and I have on here, I have I guess that's a half-inch slab of flat glass, which I just got that was excess. There's a lot of glass places around here. I think I've already said that, you know. Anyway, I've got the 80 grit silicon carbide and some water. And this is actually dry now. And for 30 hours over the course of this week, grinding away. And that of course is in between my day job, which is I'm a personal trainer. So I go out and I train people. I come back here and I grind. And then I got another appointment. I go train people. I come back with 2 or 3 appointments. And then this weekend, today is Sunday, but I put in about 8 hours yesterday, Saturday, and about 8 hours, it's actually past 8 hours now today on Sunday, and I've been grinding all day, and I feel energized, I feel great. I know, I'm pretty sure this kind of task would drive certain personality type just insane. If you told them they had to stand here for a week of their life and just grind. But for me, it's like meditation, and I come out much better. I find I'm dealing with my whatever mental issues. This is a thing to fill life with, as opposed to like socializing and parties and things like that. I prefer solitude and quiet. You know, I prefer the meaning of words and playing with rolling ideas to conversation. I prefer the former, and I prefer abstract instead of intricate. I don't know. I throw that out at you. That might all be related or not. Either way, I gotta bevel that. This edge is a little too sharp, so this is my really low-tech way. Again, at a glass studio, like a glass studio that had up-to-date technology, you would do a bevel on a belt, on a standing belt machine, a belt sander, and you would just push the art piece into it. But I am just using a hand file, and that's all I had to do. And now there's in that little corner, I just beveled it so it's less likely to chip. Where was I? So when this came out of the kiln, it had a lot of imperfections. I believe this surface was exposed to the air in the kiln. Yeah, that makes sense, right? So the mold was like this. The mold material was like this. The glass I put in, it melted, it conformed to the mold, to the object, and just about every surface, including the one that was exposed to the air, was not flat. So what I had to do, first of all, I took my Makita. I have a wet angle grinder with stone polishing heads, and I took off the most egregious excess glass in deep grooves or big lumps, and I flattened it as much as I could. I can't do that perfectly either with the Makita, the angle grinder. For some reason, I haven't developed a technical skill to perfectly flatten things. I would do it that way and save 30 hours of this. Although maybe I shouldn't because I enjoy this. So I flattened it as much as I could, and now, after shaving all that off, I come back to this process, which is hand lapping. And that's what I've been doing. This, as you look at it, probably is pretty angular and sharp. Tell you what I'm going to do. I've got an example. I've got one more piece behind me that I haven't started. I haven't started doing the hand lapping yet, and we'll compare. Hopefully the light is okay here. I'll turn it. I don't know if that's good or bad. So here's a piece. It's out of the kiln. Same firing. And the only thing I've done with it was cut off the flashing, which is, again, excess glass. Like this side, there was way too much glass kind of sticking out. It was not too great. So I have a DeWalt circular saw, a wet dry circular saw, and I just cut off, I cut some facets here. You can see I did a pretty bad job there. This had a groove in it anyway. I have not hit this with the angle grinder or the hand lapping. And so this, you see, there's a little sand in there. That was just an accident when I was setting everything in the kiln and damming things with bricks and sand. A little got in the glass, and that's a big no-no. But luckily it's all on the surface, and I'm going to shave that off. This groove, which is pretty deep, that's more than 1/8 of an inch. I'm going to probably hit that with the angle grinder. And then I'm going to hand lap 80 grit this surface, this surface, this surface, this surface, this surface. Things like this. There's a big chunk of glass missing. This, no problem. That might look horrible and like, oh, what are we going to do? Well, when I flatten this surface, it's going to take it down this way, and that will disappear. And in fact, I'm going to flatten this surface, and it's going to disappear that way. I'll end up having to bevel these again. But anyway, it's pretty. Again, House of the Moon. This is an idea. I don't know how well the camera's picking it up. It's an idea. These are my first out of my kiln, sort of an experiment. Regarding this, shut it. This is a rubber ball I got from the 99-cent store right down the street that I go to get snacks when I'm working long days. I obviously drilled a screw into it. When I'm making the clay original, I make the object and then I press this down, rub it around, and pull it out. So in the absence of having a lathe, that's how you do it, or that's how I did it. So anyway, no hand lapping yet. Last week I don't know how many hours, but this has been hand lapped with the 80 grit on all facets, and you can totally see the qualitative difference, right? The angles, chunky and choppy that is. These have been straightened, and I've beveled the edges as well. But yeah, the pieces came out a week and a half ago. I think I spent about 4 days, maybe 5 on this. I did a lot more angle grinding with that piece, but you get the picture. That doesn't really matter. The time, it doesn't matter to you. It's this time I enjoyed, so maybe the more the better. But you get the picture. Now, obviously I use the same palette. I use the same clear glass and 2 shades of blue with this. I'm a little Now these experiments, a good thing, these are learning pieces, because the next one I'm commissioned, I got a commission for this idea, this moon idea. And the next one's going to be a lot better. As you can kind of see with these, the colors are, the way the colors fuse together and came out pretty clunky looking. Still interesting, I hope. I hope, and I think. But what I'm going to do with the next batch is be much more systematic with how I chop and cut the glass into many, many individual pieces and specifically shaped. And then I'm going to lay them into the molds in the kiln before I fire them in patterns that are going to scintillate, that are going to, when they fuse together, going to be much more elegant use of color, I hope, and create the illusion of diffusion. The illusion of diffusion. Because that's the idea. Light doesn't diffuse clunkily. It diffuses in a ghostly way, especially with a full moon, light in the sky. And so I'm going to try to create that illusion. Probably use a couple more shades of glass, gray and lighter blue, and etc. Yeah, so I don't know what else I was going to say. I've just been putting in a lot of hours here. When I was at Corning last year, in the class I took, there were 8 or 9 fellow students, artists, and one of them, who was sort of a spark plug of a personality, she bemoaned, "Oh, this takes so long." Yeah, I could think that she probably wasn't going to make a lot of art this way, but maybe that's all she learned in that class, aside from the technical details. But she said, "Oh, this takes so long," and to me, again, I picture her as like the life of the party and a real kind of power ego, and she's a successful business person and gets things done, and when she makes her art, she sells it right away, and I don't even know how to do any of that. And I think she's looking for, how do we get results and get them quick and get them now so I can sell this and move on to the next thing. And that's her idea of, and I think a lot of people's idea of hard charging into life. And to me, I got up this morning and I took, my girlfriend is out of town. She's going on a cruise and on vacation with another friend, because I am committed to my studio and trying to finish some glass this summer. So no vacation for me. But this is my idea of hard charging into life, as opposed to, it's hours, and I come away from this being very energized and very at peace here, when a lot of times I'm not. So that's that. I don't know what else I was going to say. I don't know if I was going to say anything else. This is 80 grit. Again, I'm hand lapping 80 grit. At the end of every day, I totally clean this workstation. There's the neighbor's dog, and the dog is cute. And she's my friend. So I'm hand lapping, and there's a nice evening breeze coming right through my studio, and the sun is still warm, and I'll have music on after I do this. And that's my idea of having a good life right now. I've totally failed at acting. I make it by marginally as a personal trainer. I don't know, everything seems like it's been a struggle, and I've sort of not made it. And to me, getting into this space and maybe holding up away from all of everything else is what brings me peace, and it does, and I think it's great. So I'm just really grateful that I have time to do this. So yeah, I don't know, is that my gratitude giving for the day? I suppose it is. Maybe that's all. I guess stick around. I'm going to do, oh, this, the top. Now this. So, one other thing. I hand lapped this, all these big facets, except for this. I have to do this next. But right now I'm working on this surface. And as you can see, it's an irregular. It's not at 90 degrees, which means if I try to take this on the float glass, and this is the heavy side, and I try to, you can see as I grind this thing is going to bounce and waver. There's a lot of this action. No matter how hard I try to avoid that, and I do this for hours, like I said, what would happen over hours of doing it wrong is that this surface, instead of becoming perfectly flat like this, would become round, and that's not what we want. I mean, I could go for round, but that's not what I'm doing. So the alternative is this. I have a lot of, because this is a glass studio, I have a lot of float glass, and right now I have a lot of loose slurry here, slurry that's drying out as I speak. And I just take a little dab of my silicon carbide. Actually, I need to get it on the glass. Turn this a little bit, and here we are. Now we're in business. So obviously, this is like the third step down in terms of technology. At Corning and at normal glass studios, and hopefully me eventually, I will be one. You have mill wheels that spin. There's a stone wheel, and you have a little slurry, chute. You put all the silicon carbide, and you have a drip of water, and it drips the silicon onto the wheel. The wheel spins, and you hold the glass on the wheel, and the wheel removes it. I don't have that tech. I don't have that. I don't have the money for any of that equipment. I got the float glass. I moved the glass, the object over the glass. When that doesn't work, now it's like the third removed technology. I'm just taking a little piece of plate glass, some silicon carbide, and I'd been, prior to this video filming, I had been working on this surface for about an hour, and I probably have another hour left. And as with moving the object over the glass, actually, I digress. When I'm moving any of these over the plate glass, I'm actually also grinding the plate glass, and I have to make sure that I'm covering the whole area, and I have to turn this many times and keep turning it and make sure I'm covering the entire surface of the plate glass so that the plate glass also is perfectly flat, because if it isn't, then it will, in turn, if this thing becomes bold, then it'll deform all of the surfaces I'm trying to polish in it. So I have to cover everything over and over again, just with my circles, my revolutions. And relatedly, when I'm using this piece, I'm going to keep turning it, and as I'm going, I'll turn it over as well, because I want this to be perfectly flat as well. So I guess I'm about to start going into this. If you want to be bored, you can stick around and watch. Or if you want to meditate, you can stick around and watch. Or if you want to feel frustrated, like you're in an existential void and this is what life is, for hours, you can stick around and watch. Or you can turn it off now, because I'm just going to do this for a while. When the fancy hits me, I'll turn the camera off. But thanks for stopping by. Mom and Dad, I love you. Don't vote Trump. Mexicans are cool. They're good people. And I really mean that. They're like, people are people. That's as political as I'll be. Oh yeah, my sinuses are still pretty bad. That's one thing that hasn't changed in my life. Breathing in the dust of silicon carbide and ground glass is maybe not helping, but you know, neither did 5 surgeries and 20 years of medicine, so fuck it. And I say that in the most lighthearted way. One of the nice things about growing old with an illness is that it just becomes your familiar thing. And if that makes you feel sorry for me, you can donate to me. Try to private message me. Like, oh, the guy's sick and he's a struggling artist. I'll just give him money. I'll do the millennial thing. Help me, just give me money. Why not, actually? I'm not crapping on millennials. That's actually, what is community and society for if not to do better than survival of the fittest? Right? Anything we can do to do better is... anyway, I'm gonna grind. still watching. My hands are cramping because I've been doing this all day. I imagine my grip is pretty strong, even though I don't work out anymore.